Hello again, I am Blunty, and humming quietly behind me there is my completed new PC gaming build, which I've titled R2-Seethru because you can see everything, and it's R2. It's revision 2 of my main computing gaming platform. I think that's my explanation for that name anyway. Of course it sounds like R2-D2, the little droid from Star Wars, because I'm a nerd. But truth be told, I may wind up retitling. I mean, I love the name R2-Seethru, but there might be a cooler, snappier, nerdier name, a little more appropriate for this build or something out there. I don't know what it is yet. I've toyed with the idea of calling it the TGRI machine. It's a little awkward, but it does sort of give me the Secret of the Ooze canister link in there. I can put a decal on that with the TGRI logo. And anyway, so what I wanted to talk about today, if you've seen parts 1 and 2 of this video, you know what components I chose and why. You've seen the build process, a little bit hint there. And I wanted to talk about today specifically the Thermaltake parts, the case and the water cooling, because those two things are new to me. This case, first time I've ever built in a case anything like this. And of course it's a big open air, on display, showy rig type of thing. And I hit one of my fans there. I've got to be a little bit careful not to actually hit the rig and topple it over and break everything. Anyway, Thermaltake Core P5 case. Case comes flat packed, big flat box. It's a big case, and basically it's a matter of moments to screw everything together. You've got to screw in the little platform for your graphics card there. You've got to screw on the little feet down the bottom there if you want it sitting on your desk that way. There are also 4 rubber feet you can screw to the back if you want to lay it on its back, because it can be laid on its back as well. Or you can mount it to a wall on the back. It's got a standard VESA mounting arrangement, which means any sort of mount, not monitor mounts because they're designed for smaller, lighter things, but the mounts designed to carry heavy things like the big TVs and stuff are going to work perfectly for this as well. So it's very flexible when it comes to where you're putting it. The entire back panel comes off. There's a full-length magnetic filter for the radiator side there as well to help keep dust and cleaning and maintenance stuff at bay as well. There are 3 internal 3.5-inch hard drives. You can put 2.5-inch drives in there as well, of course. And you can also do what I do and sort of use some of the space to sort of just Velcro tape sort of stuff just to mount the drives directly on the case there. When it comes to cable routing, this thing is one of the easiest things ever. There are lots of little ins and outs all over the place. Some have grommets, some don't. All the main ones have grommets for the obvious stuff like the power cables, but there are other little holes you can sort of poke and prod and thread things through as well. It makes your life really easy when it comes to sort of threading through sort of a little bit the lighting and stuff that doesn't normally have its own dedicated little pokey holes. It's a technical term, by the way, used in the industry, pokey holes. And like I said, the entire back panel comes off, so you basically got the entire hollow space of the rig basically there to just leave your cables around. I did some basic cable management. I tied a few cables together just to make it sort of sensible. Didn't bother making it really tidy. I just wanted to, if I ever need to get back there and change a cable out, so if I use a graphics card that needs, more cables or less cables or something, for example, I can do that nice and easy. Just little cable ties and zip straps and stuff like that to keep it tidy. There's heaps of room back there to thread things about where you need them to be. The cables for the front panel connections for the USB and the power and the hard drive light, they're all really nice and long, so you're never going to have any issues getting those to where they need to be. And as you can see for yourself, obviously you can mount the graphics card vertically, but you can also mount it horizontally. The little back plane there for the PCI Razer cards, that can be mounted that way or that way depending on how you want to go. So if you're going for an SLI arrangement, for example, it may be easier to do them horizontally, but it does come with an extension ribbon cable, so you can do that. Also already had a shorter ribbon cable that I used for my HDMI capture device, so you can sort of thread those over each other, and the cable for the graphics card winds up sort of covering up. And it also comes with a little platformy thing for your water cooling reservoir and pump and stuff to sit on top of there as well. So you're ready to go out of the box. There's nothing you need to do when it comes to sort of special equipment like water cooling stuff. The mount points are all over the place. I never had any issues at all finding the correct mount point. Super duper easy, of course, because there's no walls in the case, no sort of ribbing, there's just a blank slate for you to slap things onto. So the build process in this thing is actually really easy. Maybe the easiest case I've ever built. Well, with the exception of the water cooling stuff, which is tricky because that was my first time doing it. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, just putting this thing together, super easy. There's space for everything you need space for, mounting points for everything you need mounting points for, and then some. So if you're looking for a fancy case to show off your rig, I don't think it gets much sort of fancier or showier, at least. I mean, there are fancier cases around, but not ones that show off your components as elegantly as this. Like, nothing gets in the way. The case gets out of your way and does nothing but lets you show off your other stuff. Whereas some of the other fancy cases, you know, they're fancy in their own right. The case is the fancy bit of the build in many cases. This, it's the opposite. This is, look at these parts that I've chosen. Aren't they nice? And it's nice to have a case like that, because a lot of manufacturers these days, motherboard manufacturers especially, in sort of the very recent times, they're starting to make their motherboards look fancier and lovely, and, you know, little LED touches on them and everything. So when they are on show, and, you know, shrouds and everything over all the VRAM stuff and all that kind of stuff, you know, it's nice to have an option for a case. Oh, it's chassis, really. It's not a case, because it doesn't enclose it. Well, there is a glass panel that you can put over the front as well, which I haven't attached. Haven't decided whether I want to even do that yet. I should put it on there and see how it looks at least, but I'll do that. You know, point is, I'm talking about how it's like to build it. And that glass panel's just to stop you poking the fans like I have been doing. So, onto the water cooling. First things first. Like I said in part 2 of the video, people who make sort of a big deal about how tricky and difficult and it is to do hardline bending and all that sort of stuff, it's horse crap. It's surprisingly easy to do. At least it's surprisingly easy to do with the materials that I had. Maybe it's more difficult with the different materials, but this PET G tubing from Thermaltake was really easy to work with. And I mean, I was gobsmacked about how easy it was to work with. You know, 30 seconds or so over the heat gun, and you can feel it sort of get pliable, and you get a sense for when it's pliable enough. You can use, you know, there's no technical, well, it has to get those X number of degrees before you can bend it and not get too hot and bubbles and creases and stuff. No, you just got to, okay, it's getting a bit wobbly. There it feels, and you just bend it around. I was using a bit of bent coat hanger to work out the angles, and as you can see, all these angles are fairly consistent. The corners are, you know, when I go 90 degrees, they're 90 degrees. This is the one thing that I screwed up. And the only reason this is screwed up is because I measured it slightly wrong. It didn't quite reach to where I needed it to reach. And if I'm honest with myself, that bend there, as it goes around the corner, it flattens out just a little bit too much, I think. So it gets a bit skinny around the bend. It's what I did when I was bending. The other stuff is I would heat it up, do the bend, and then sort of get a little, I was using the manual from the motherboard actually, just to sit on top and sort of flatten that back out again, squish it back out again so it's nice and round. These aren't the most perfect bends you'll ever see. If you get real close to them, you can see some of them are a little bit flat as you go around, but there are no bubbles, no creasing, no stress marks, no cracks, nothing. I am gobsmacked. I mean, this tubing made me look like a freaking expert. Like, this is seriously the first time I've ever done hardline water cooling of any type at all, and that's the only one I messed up, and the only reason I messed that up is because I put the bend in slightly the wrong place. It should have been sort of back that way, just a little bit more, and it would have fit perfectly. That was, what was this one for? I think, yeah, there we go. We'll turn it around this way. I was supposed to go there. But yeah, there's simple tools to work with too. I wasn't using any special cutters. I had this tube cutter thingy, and I can show you here. It's really easy to work with. So just slice it right through there. I'll try not to do this so it spoings everywhere. So yeah, you just slice it off. It cuts. Nice clean edge. Surprisingly clean edge from this little tool. I expecting a lot more ragged, but you know, then you get your little reamer thing. You ream out the end, ream out that end, bit of sandpaper to smooth it off, and push it straight into the fitting. Actually, that's not one of the fittings it pushes into, but yeah, there are no screw-in sort of compression fittings or anything. All these fittings that the tube goes in, it's basically got a couple of grommets on the inside, and you basically just push the tube in, and it sits there. And I had zero issues with leaks either. No leaks at all. I did screw up filling the reservoir at one point because I attached this return pipe to the fill port basically. So I was trying to fill it through the return port, and it was a bit of a disaster. It wound up splashing everywhere, the back pressure and built up, and I did it wrong, and that's because I just wasn't paying attention. I didn't think it through. That was my mistake. So I wasted a little bit of fluid. On that note, the Thermaltake fluid. This is bottle number 2. As you can see, I went through. Well, you probably can't see, but yeah, most of it's left, but 2/3 of it's left. But I emptied the other bottle. So most of the other bottles in there, some of it went on my floor from when I splashed it everywhere through the back pressure, bubbling up and go. But good news is, this new liquid of Thermaltake's, the C1000 opaque coolant, cleans up super easy. Like, it didn't stain anything. It went on my desk, it went on my mouse pad, it went on my bathroom floor when I took the thing over there to drain it, sort of so I could redo move the pipe into the appropriate place and all that sort of stuff, and just wiped up. Bit of paper towel, wiped up, easy peasy. It doesn't stink on your hands or anything. So all the things I was expecting from a opaque coloured liquid Nothing. It was just, again, super easy to work with, so I'm very impressed with that. You know, for a first timer, I was expecting a lot more mistakes and stains, and I was wearing it. I was expecting to ruin my t-shirt and my pants and socks and to get it splashed everywhere and have my green hands for a week, and nothing. You know, one simple screw up that was my fault, and everything else went perfectly to plan. All these little fittings, really, really solid, very thick walled, sort of grommets, and they're screwed in together nice and easy, and, you know, sort of getting the angles right and being able to turn them round, and, you know, I couldn't have asked for an easier time of it, actually. I just, you know, I gotta give Thermaltake some props for making me look like I knew what I was doing, even though I'm a newbie. Now, I've got the D5 speed control pump in there. I've got it set to its almost slowest level, and as you can hear for yourself, a little bit of just a soft hum, basically. And it's a little bit louder than I thought it would be, quite honestly. Maybe it'll get a bit quieter with time once all the air bubbles, because there most probably, I mean, this case has only been up and running for a couple of days. There's probably a lot of little air bubbles still trapped around various components and flowing through the system. So once they bubble out, hopefully it'll get a little bit quieter still. But it's at a noise level now which is completely tolerable for me. And like I said in part one, I deliberately overbuilt this entire cooling system. Touch the fan again. Deliberately overbuilt this entire cooling system. A big 480 rad, and, you know, I've got 3 fans, not 4. That's because I had plans to mount something there, which I didn't wind up doing. I was going to put the lighting controller down there, but I wound up sticking it somewhere else. That's why I only have 3 fans. I may put another fan there. I may not. I don't really need it, because, yeah, this thing is so overbuilt. I can leave everything on its lowest possible setting, like pump, lowest setting. All these 3 fans, lowest setting. I'm sitting at idle temperatures at about 26 degrees, maxed out running a Prime 95 benchmark for half an hour, just hammering the CPU cores, all 4 cores, 100% pegged, 56 degrees. That's without making any more noise than it's making right now. So, I just heard some bubbles go by. There we go. So there is still some air in that system there. So what haven't I talked about? I think I've talked about pretty much everything. You know, the pipes, the pumps, the fittings, the rad. When I rinsed that out, they seemed to become fairly clean. There was no garbo that came out when I rinsed the radiator out, so pretty impressed by that. I've heard that some radiators, when you have to rinse them before you use them, otherwise you risk getting garbo in the system from the manufacturing process, seem to come perfectly clean to me. Still worth rinsing it out just in case, but mine, perfectly clean. There was no little flecks or anything, no dirty. The water came out as clean as it went in. So very happy about that. But yeah, to sum up, Thermaltake Core P5 case, sweet. I mean, you can see it for yourself. Super easy to build in, super sensible, nice and stable. It rocks a bit on this. This is a crappy desk, but the feet are positioned in such a way that even with sort of everything sort of out front here, it's not going to tip over on you. Sit up somewhere nice and secure on a strong surface, you're not going to have any problems. It is very heavy when it's built, because of course I've got all this water cooling stuff, the big rad and all this liquid, and the case itself is bit out of steel, so it is very strong but also quite heavy. So it's not a case you want to move about too often. Just keep that in mind. But I'm pretty sure that's all I wanted to mention. Did I leave anything out? Pop the thing in the down below area if there's something I didn't answer for you. I'll do my best to answer it down there. But yeah, every component that Thermaltake sent in for this build floored me. I mean, it made my life easy, is basically all you want from it. It made my life easy, and it seems like super strong. No, I mean, I could probably break that if I really tried, but, you know, that's I've got no issues about worrying about sort of bumping this case and water splashing everywhere. That probably sounded terrible on the mic, but thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and we'll catch you next time, and I don't know, have you got a better name for this case?